Den deutschen Beamten bleiben weniger als 24 Stunden, dann endet die Registrierung. Ich kann mit voller Überzeugung sagen, dass dies eine echte Chance ist, 1.000 € pro Tag zu verdienen, ohne großen Aufwand und ohne schwere Arbeit. Aber wenn Sie diese Gelegenheit jetzt nicht nutzen, ist sie für immer vorbei. Es handelt sich um eine offizielle Plattform, die von Finanzexperten aus Deutschland geprüft wurde. Über 100.000 Deutsche haben sich registriert und verdienen mit ihrer Hilfe Geld. Das monatliche Einkommen beträgt etwa 27.000 €. Alles ist absolut transparent und einfach. Dafür bürge ich persönlich. Das gesamte Geld wird sicher verwahrt und bringt Erträge. Um den Algorithmus zu aktivieren, müssen Sie einen Beitrag in Höhe von 220 € leisten. Ich möchte klarstellen, dass es sich dabei keinesfalls um ein Abonnement handelt. Es handelt sich um Eigenkapital, das der Algorithmus nutzt, um seine Arbeit aufzunehmen. Bereits am nächsten Tag beginnen die Leute zwischen 700 und 900 € pro Tag zu verdienen. In einer Woche werden 10.000 € verdient. Und nach einem Monat bringt die Plattform mehr als 30.000 € ein. Fangen Sie jetzt sofort an zu verdienen. Ich muss jedoch darauf hinweisen, dass die Anmeldefrist heute endet. Alle, die Geld verdienen wollen, müssen schnell handeln. Das System kann nicht jeden aufnehmen. Das muss man verstehen. Deshalb verdienen derzeit Tausende von Menschen Geld und erhalten bereits nach 24 Stunden ihr erstes Einkommen. Das ist Ihre einzige Chance. Den offiziellen Link finden Sie nur unter diesem Video. Klicken Sie darauf, hinterlassen Sie Ihre Kontaktdaten und unser Spezialist wird sich mit Ihnen in Verbindung setzen, Ihre Fragen beantworten und Ihnen Zugang zur Plattform gewähren. Machen Sie den Schritt, der Ihr Leben verändern wird.
And for all of you who thought that the Kevin Cookie Company was just a cover for tutorial videos, look, we actually sell cookies at this cookie company. See, we have the data right here. To get started with Office scripts, right up here on the top toolbar, there's a tab called Automate. Let's click on this one. This opens up the Automate ribbon, and we have a few different options here. Let's take a moment to orient ourselves to what we have. Right over on the left-hand side, I can click on Record Actions, and this is very similar to recording a macro. Here I could go through, I could click, I can make changes, I can make formatting changes, and this will record all of those different steps that I take. In a moment, we'll come back and we'll create our first Office script using the recorder. Right to the right of that over here, there's a gallery with a whole bunch of sample scripts. I could click into them to see how they work. So here I'll click into this one and I could click in and actually see the code of how this script works. So this is a good way to familiarize myself with what's possible. I'm going to close out of this. Right back at the top, all the way over on the far right hand side, there's an option called All Scripts. When I click on this, this opens up a pane again over on the right hand side. Right here, I can see all of the scripts that I've created. Now, I haven't created any yet, so right now it's just blank. To the right of that, I have an option called This Workbook. As soon as someone shares a script with me, I'll see all of their scripts appear in this area. Also, all the way over on the far right hand side, I see even more samples. So here are some of the samples we saw before in this gallery, and then I see the addition of another one. Online, there's a massive collection of different samples that I can look at. And this is one of the best ways to learn how to code using Office scripts. You could just look at different samples to see how they did it. Right up here near the top, I also have the option to simply kick off a new script not using the recorder, so I could just enter in my code. But once again, I want to start with the simplest possible method of creating a script, so I'm going to go up here and let's click on Record Actions. This once again opens up the pane over on the right hand side called Record Actions, and right now you see that it's recording. And this is going to record every single step that I take. So any change that I make here will be captured over here in this pane. So this really works best to record steps that you're pretty familiar with. If you're clicking around and you're clicking on different buttons, remember, it's going to keep track of all of that. Also, another good technique to pulling together a script is you could record in chunks. Maybe you want to make a formatting change here, and maybe you want to change the formatting of some numbers here. You can record that, stop, and you can take that recording and integrate it into another script that you have. Lastly, as I go through this, let's say that maybe you make a change that you didn't intend to make. You can stop and you can restart again, or as an alternative, you could just leave it in and then we can clean it up in the code later. In a moment, I'll show you exactly how you can do this. Okay, enough talk. I have some work I need to get done. I need to format this report with our cookies sold data. And keep in mind, I do this every single week. I know this is terrible to have to do this in a job, but hopefully we can automate this. Now right here, I want to bold all my column headers, so I'll highlight them and press Ctrl B to bold them. And I'll also bold this column right here with all the different cookie types. That looks good so far. Now over here, I want to calculate the profit. So for this, I'll enter in the formula. I'll take the revenue minus the cost. So here I'll do 5 minus 2. I'll close the parentheses, and next I'll multiply it by the number of cookies sold. So there's my profit formula. Now as I'm making all of these changes, so here I bolded this row, I bolded this column, here I put in a formula, you'll notice here that it's recording all of these different actions. Here I'll take this formula and I'll apply it all the way down. I also want to calculate the total profit. And this is a pretty profitable company. Here I'll enter the sum formula, and here let me enter this up and let's see how much profit we had. Wow, 2.3 million for a week's worth of work. That's pretty good. Next, I also want to make sure that my revenue and cost column are formatted as a currency. So I'll highlight all of these cells, and then I'll go up to home, and over here I can select currency formatting. I'll just set it to the USD. And lastly, I want to make one more change. Let me just select this cell and let me paint it yellow. I didn't really mean to do this, but it looks like it's been recorded now. So I'll show you how we can go into the code later on and remove this step. For now, I'm all done recording my different steps, so I'll go right up here and click on stop. And my script has now been recorded, and right now it's referred to as simply script 1. Now that won't help me find it again in the future, so let me click up here and I'll change the title. I entered in cookies sold formatting, and so my script is now all ready to go. Let me zoom out just a little bit here and let me remove some of the changes that I made. So here I'll remove the profit column, let me get rid of the bolding here, and let me get rid of this color in this cell, so I'll set no fill. So right now, the data is pretty close to what it was when I first started. Now let's say I got more data like this, I can simply come over to my scripts, and once again, if I wanted to access this without this pane open, I could go to automate, I could click on all scripts, and here I see the script right here. Next, I could go down and click on run. Once I click on run, once again, you'll see all of the changes that I went through and I made are now automatically applied to this data. So my life is already getting a lot easier. Right up here near the top, you'll see that it saved this script under My Files. This is in your OneDrive. Let's take a quick look to see where this file goes. To access OneDrive, go up to the waffle in the top left-hand corner, and here I'm going to click on OneDrive. This opens up OneDrive for Business. Here I see all of my different files. Here I'll click into the folder called Documents, and within Documents, there's another folder called Office Scripts. When I click on that, here I see a new script file called Cookies Sold Formatting. So this is where all of my scripts are saved. Back in Microsoft Excel, here I have another sheet with all of the cookie sales data from April 10th. And when I click into this once again is just like it was on the other sheet before I started with all my edits. Here I could simply click on Run, and look at this, all of my editing has now been applied here. So once again, my job is pretty easy, and I could use this script on any one of my worksheets. So far, we've just been recording all of our steps, and we ran them against 2 different sheets. So congratulations, we're already starting to automate things. But what if you want to see how things work under the hood? Here I have the code editor open, and here I see the script that we just created. Here I can click on edit, or I could click over here, and this will drop me into the code that we generated. And look at this, to make all of those changes, Excel executes all of the following code. Now you might be thinking, wow, this looks really scary, but actually it's pretty easy to understand, and we'll walk our way through this to help you understand. At a very high level, you might be wondering, well, what is this? What programming language is this? The action recorder that we used earlier, it generates code in TypeScript. It's basically a programming language. And TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. Now you could come in here just as well, and you don't have to use the recorder, and you can write code directly in JavaScript or in TypeScript, either one, whichever one you're more comfortable with. Also, if you just want to use the recorder, that's okay too. You don't actually have to write any code, but having just a very high level knowledge of how this works will allow you to tweak it so it works to meet your needs. Before we go through and look at the code to understand it at a high level, I do want to make one quick change. Right up here in the top right hand corner, there's an ellipsis. Let's click on this. Within here, towards the bottom, there's an option for editor settings. Let's click on that. Within editor settings, you can make several different changes. The one that I made is the font size. I wanted to make it a little bit easier to see, so I adjusted this to 18. You can adjust this to make it easier to read the code. Choose whichever value you like the best. Now that I made my selection, I'll click on the X. Also, before we jump in and we run through this code, if you have no programming background at all, but maybe you're curious and you want to learn about just the fundamentals of programming, I pulled together a video recently on how to get started using Python. Python is one of the most popular programming languages. The good thing though is when you look at Python, you'll also understand any other programming language as well. The fundamental concepts are all the same. You can watch that video and I've included a link in the description of this video. Okay, with that out of the way, let's take a look at this code to see how this works. Right up here at the very top, there's a function. We're basically calling a function. What this does is when we click on the run button, Office Script says, okay, I need to run this function now. And it passes in a parameter, which is the current open workbook. So this way Excel knows what workbook it should run this script against. Next, within the code here, we need to define what worksheet we want to work with. So this up here, this is the overall workbook called Cookies Sold. And then right down here across the bottom of the workbook, I have two different worksheets, each one with a separate date. So here I'm defining what worksheet I want to use. And this is pretty simple. I'm simply saying I want to use the current active worksheet. So here I'm currently on this worksheet. And so if I run this script, it'll run it across this page that we see right here. Here, if I shift to 4.3, well, now this is the active worksheet. So if I now run this script, it'll run it against this. Instead of saying use the currently active worksheet, I could also simply define a specific worksheet. And in a little bit, we'll come back and we'll do that. Okay, so far we have our function main. We're also defining what sheet we want to work with. Let's now look at what happens next. And what's really nice is this is the comment. You'll see that Office Scripts automatically comments against the code. So if you remember early on, I selected all of these different cells and I made them bold. So that's what this step here is doing. It's making those cells bold. And here what's really nice is the comment tells us exactly what it's doing. So first off, it selects these cells, A3 through A9, or it gets that range. So right here, it'll select that range. First, it has to get the formatting, it has to get the font, and once it has all of that, it can set it to bold. And here it sets bold to true. Now I could go in and if I modify this to false, and let's say I run it again, here now you'll see that it sets these to not being bold. So just a quick example of how I could change some of the properties. I'm going to change this back to true. If you remember, when I went through and I recorded my steps, I set this one cell to yellow. Now I didn't intend to do that. I want to show you how we could remove a step by going through our code, finding it, and then removing it. So if you remember, I did that at the very end. So here I could scroll down through my code, and here at the very end, I see that it says set fill color to this value for cell C9. Well, if I click in here, this is cell C9. So that's another easy way to identify that step. It also so happens to be that this code right here, this represents yellow on the sheet. Now right here, I can see all the code that made that change. And if I didn't want it, I could simply highlight this and then I could delete that and that code is now gone. Let me go back and here I'm going to remove the fill color. I'll set it back to white and here I can now run my script and we'll see that it no longer applies this formatting. So my script now ran, it made all of the changes again, and this cell is no longer yellow. So we just made a very simple edit to our code. Now this is just a very simple example of how you can look at the code to understand how it works. Now, of course, because this is using TypeScript or you could use JavaScript, you can write Office scripts that are much more complicated than this. You can set up classes, additional functions, you can set up loops, you can even add conditional statements. So you can make this far more complex and you can run some pretty interesting applications using this. Next, I want to show you how you can share this script with others. Before I share it, I'm going to go up to the top and I'll click on Save Script. This is now saved the script on my OneDrive, so it's already in the cloud. Over here, I'll click on Back. This brings me back to the view now where I can see all of my different scripts. I'll click into this one, Cookies Sold Formatting. With this card view open, I can click on this ellipsis down here, and here I have the option to share my script. Let's click on this. This opens up a prompt, and basically anyone who has access to this workbook, I can also make it so they have access to this script. That sounds good, so I'll click on Share. And just like that, my script has now been shared. So if anyone else comes in and opens up this workbook, they can click into this workbook and they can see all of the different shared scripts. And here you see Cookies Sold Formatting is one of those shared scripts. Now that I've shared my workbook, I want to show you how we can use Power Automate to kick off your script. And before we do that, I simply want to undo some of the changes that this script made. So here I'll delete the profit column and let me just get rid of the bolding here. I'm going to leave the currency formatting as is. If you've never heard of Power Automate before, it's kind of like the service If This Then That. Basically, you can set up automated workflows between different applications. And the really cool thing is you can run your scripts without even having to be in your workbook. So far to run my script, I'd have to click on Automate, All Scripts, and then I could hover over and here I could run my script. But I could have it start for all sorts of different scenarios. For example, maybe I receive an email. I could have the email serve as a trigger for my script. Or maybe I get a message in Microsoft Teams. That can be a trigger for my script. I could even set up a schedule. Maybe I could set it up so every single week on Monday afternoon, it simply runs this script. So I could decide when it should run. To get to Power Automate, let's go up to the top left-hand corner, and once again, let's click on the App Launcher or the waffle. Within this list, you should see an option for Power Automate. If you don't see it in this initial list, you can also go down and click on All Apps. I see it here, so I'll click on this. This opens up Power Automate, and once again, if you've never used it before, you can see a whole bunch of different examples of when you can use it. Over on the left-hand side, I'll click on Create to create a new flow. Within Create a Flow, you'll see a few different examples of the types of different flows I can create. And once again, I mentioned that you can have all sorts of different triggers